Turbo Overkill is a AAA game, and I mean that in the nicest way possible. This game has continued to get better and better over the past couple of years by giving us improved visuals, refining old mechanics while also adding new ones, and even completely redesigning certain levels given community feedback. The amount of love and care and true passion that has gone into this game hasn't gone unnoticed by anyone that has played the game leading up to its full release, and the fact that the vast majority of this game has been created and worked on by one guy with a handful of part-time developers on the side should make some of these AAA studios ashamed of what they consider a high standard product. This developer has managed to pull off the impossible by giving us a complete masterful passion project that will go down in the history books as one of the best FPS games of all time. Turbo Overkill is an adrenaline-fueled, action-focused, retro-style FPS that is inspired by the old-school greats, like many of these games are, but it plays and feels like nothing you've experienced before by blending the old-school inspirations with a grounded, refreshing, mechanically and visually sound take on modern shooters. Turbo Overkill wears its inspirations on its sleeve, all the while being one of the most unique shooters on the market right now, and what better way to celebrate the game's full release than to review this masterpiece. For my regular viewers, you might think I throw that word around a little too much, but it just so happens that the past few games I reviewed have been genuine masterpieces in my opinion. But anyway, let's get on with the video. If you enjoy it, please leave a like, it really does help out a small channel like mine, and make sure to subscribe for more videos like this. In Turbo Overkill, you play as the appropriately named Johnny Turbo, a chainsaw leg-wielding, rocket arm-abusing, gun-slinging mercenary returning to your hometown of Paradise City, a neon-soaked, cyberpunk-inspired hellhole, only to find that it's been taken over by the world's most powerful AI, Sin. So you take on the near impossible job of taking it and all of its spliced up cyborg inhabitants down. You'll encounter anything from grotesque creations that embody capitalism to even other bounty hunters looking to claim the trophy of Sin first, and no matter what this game throws at you, they all fail miserably. We'll get into combat in a second, but first I want to touch on how well designed these levels are. It's very obvious as soon as you get into Turbo Overkill's rhythm that the pacing and flow of these levels and arenas have been artistically perfected. None of these levels lag, and they aren't dull or boring to fight in. They all have great verticality, smart and strategic enemy placement. They're an absolute marvel to look at, and whether you're fighting in a tight and claustrophobic arena where you're made to perfect your movement and reaction time, or if you're in a vast open area where you're given a little bit more freedom to spread your wings and utilize this game's wonderful air control and movement, the level design is something that won't go unnoticed. The way the developer has perfectly blended the flow of combat with the mood of these levels is something only a few games have pulled off. No matter how hard I looked for a flaw in this game, mainly in its level design, I just couldn't find one. Any problem or critique I originally had quickly dissolved as I realized it came down to a skill issue on my behalf. I was the problem. I wasn't understanding the game's rhythm, or I wasn't respecting the enemies enough, which led me to believe it was a poor implementation on the developer's side. But as I dropped my ego, it was made clear that there really aren't any faults in this game, in my opinion. Its level design creates this beautiful symphony of chaos and precise combat that feels deliberately visceral. I said in the intro that Turbo Overkill wears its inspirations on its sleeve, and it's very evident once you experience the combat loop that one of its inspirations was Doom Eternal. The combat is heavily focused around target prioritization, weapon quick switching and combos, precise traversal and navigation of the combat arenas, and a mastered understanding of your abilities. But where Doom Eternal lacked, Turbo Overkill succeeds. There is not a single second in this game that doesn't feel fresh and unique, or like the developer has tried to make the game artificially difficult by giving us bullshit areas with an overabundance of enemies to deal with. With how intense and visually busy this game is, especially during the massive fights, I never once felt restricted, and that's just another testament to how well designed Turbo Overkill's mechanics and gameplay are. It gives you the mechanics to deal with what it's throwing at you, but it's up to you to master them. It's up to you to identify the true threat on your screen and use everything in your inventory to deal with it, from quick switching weapons to output the most damage, to mastering your enhanced movement capabilities to outmaneuver your opponents. Understanding the speed and flow of combat is crucial to mastering this game, and the further you dig, the more you learn that this game isn't the type of shooter where you can mindlessly shoot things. Turbo Overkill demands your attention, and its enemies deserve your respect. Turbo Overkill's arsenal is what you'd expect from a game like this. I said this in a previous video, but what tends to make games like this a little dull for me sometimes is their generic arsenal. They all tend to have the typical shotgun, super shotgun, rocket launcher, BFG, etc, etc. But what Turbo Overkill does with its arsenal is take all of those weapons and make them completely unique and engaging to use. Its shotgun is a devastating close to mid-range weapon with a tight spread and a 3-stage charge alt fire that stuns enemies and leaves them open for an attack. Its super shotgun liquefies anything unlucky enough to be at the end of its barrel, and with its grenade launcher alt fire, not even the biggest of enemies are safe. The minigun doubles as a flamethrower, the sniper is a teleporter, your starter pistols are straight out of Titanfall and remain relevant for the entire game. You can rain destruction from the sky, you can catch enemy rockets and send them back. Fuck man, you can grapple your own rocket to get a height advantage and absolutely decimate everything below you. Man, you can turn every one of your limbs into a chainsaw and obliterate everything on your screen into mush. I could not express how absurdly fun and mechanically perfect this game is, and it even gives you the option to customize certain abilities and how they work to fit your playstyle by finding these augment stations scattered around each level. Want health and armor every time you kill someone with your chainsaw leg, more damage from your rockets that come out of your arm, faster weapon switching, more dashes, a longer slide, jumping off walls, latching onto walls, blah blah blah. I won't spoil anymore. The point is that this game has so much player expression and freedom, and it lets you express yourself at any given moment. Another thing I have to give a round of applause for is Turbo Overkill's boss fights. It's very difficult to get boss fights right in an FPS game, in my opinion, but I think Turbo Overkill does a great job of making theirs fun and challenging. There are a couple you can cheese with your Turbo Time ability, which allows you to slow down time and get a bunch of ammo back, but other than that, they were all a nice addition to the game and didn't feel like a cheesy gimmick. Turbo Overkill is one of those games that you just have to experience in order to believe just how good it is. The quality and overall polish that is present in the form of its level design and how it allows the player to perform a beautifully choreographed symphony of destruction with your precise, deliberate and visceral mechanics and arsenal is something to behold. The game gives you the freedom to express yourself and play the game how you want it to be played, all the while jamming one of the most banging soundtracks to grace an FPS game. Turbo Overkill is going to join the ranks of Proteus, Ultrakill, Dusk, Trepang 2 and Cultic as one of the best FPS games of all time, and it's a crime that a game this good is so cheap because I'd happily pay full price for a game of this quality. It has some of the best developers and one of the best communities behind it, and the end result of this game shows that. With mod support, multiplayer, community-made maps, and an endless mode, Turbo Overkill will keep you entertained for a long time to come, and it's well worth your time and money. I can't stress that enough.
Get in front of the door.
Heading to the starport.